make it as interactive as we can. Let me know when you're ready.
Absolutely. Thank you all for joining us today, taking time away from your busy schedule to connect with leading marketers, and Laura Patterson, President of VisionEdge Marketing, who will be leading today's virtual roundtable around driving marketing excellence. Laura will be presenting her engaging keynote on analytics, the intersection for marketing and IT to collaboratively turn data into a winning strategy for growth, during the Boardroom Events Fall 2016 Mid-Market Forums, including the Mid-Market CIO Forum and the Mid-Market CMO Forum, this October 23rd through 25th in San Antonio, Texas. Should any questions arise during the presentation, please feel free to add them to the chat window at the bottom of your screen. A recording will be distributed at the conclusion of the call, and slides will be available for download. We are a fairly intimate group today, so if you do want to just raise your hand and briefly interrupt Laura, I think she's got a great presentation. We'll kick it off, but try to save questions to the end just for the sake of flow. Laura, take it away. The virtual floor is yours.
Thank you, Blair. I'm glad to have everybody with us today. We're really excited. Thanks for having me. So we're going to talk about driving marketing excellence and really tie back into what we've learned in 15 years of doing research on the topic of marketing excellence and benchmarking with marketing organizations all over the world in all kinds of industries, in both B2B and B2C, what we've learned and how we can pass those learnings on to you to help you with your efforts. So there are 5 things that I'm hoping that we can get through today. I do want to make it interactive, so I want to go through things, and there will be ways that you can get this deck and this information, and I'll share that along the way. And if you have questions that come up after today, just reach out to me either by email or LinkedIn, and I'll have some information about that when we get to the end. So one thing we're going to talk about is 3 marketing personas that have emerged as a result of this research, and what we know about those 3 marketing personas, how they're different from each other, and how they perform in terms of making a difference and a contribution and measuring their value to the organization. We're going to relate those personas to the C-suite. The C-suite, I mean the CEO, the COO, the CFO, in particular, those 3 primarily, but other members of the C-suite as well. And we're going to talk about 10 things, the top 10 things that the best-in-class marketers, one of the key personas, does, what they do better, what they do differently, and what the implications of those are. Steps that you can take right now. I mean, there's no reason to put this off. The sooner you begin to make changes and address adjustments, the better. And we're not that far from the planning season as we head into, hard to believe, but as we head into the next calendar year. And then your action plan, things that you might want to focus on. So with that, I just want to pose this question rhetorically, something for you to think about in terms of what the C-suite expects from your marketing organization. Does it expect your marketing organization to serve as a member of the business team? Does it expect your marketing organization to make marketing data relevant, make data and metrics relevant? Does the C-suite, does your C-suite expect you to show the relationship between the things you do in marketing and the results that you drive for the business, and to demonstrate how marketing creates value? We often hear when we are having conversations with members of the C-suite that these are 4 primary expectations, and they're often fall short among marketers. There is a group of marketers that does a fairly decent job on these 4 things, but the majority of marketers, close to 70, 80% of marketers, fall short on these 4 key expectations. But imagine that you could. Just take a moment, think about if you could do this, what would be the value to your organization? Because I'm going to show you what the value is to those marketing organizations who do it well. I'm not saying it's easy to do. It's not easy to do. It does take some effort. It's a transformative kind of process, so that means it takes some investment as well, and time and the right skills, but it's very valuable because it has direct impact on the influence you have in the organization and the budget, which is a challenge for many marketing organizations, is to continuing to get their share of the budget. So we do know that there are a few elite marketers who are really doing a very good job of proving their value. And in the words of someone I've admired for a long time, Paul Harvey, let's look at the rest of the story. So here is data from the last 9 years of this 15-year study, just to kind of make it easy to understand. This is research that we've been doing for a very long time. You don't need to take a bunch of notes because this research is available for free. You can get a copy of the abbreviated summary straight from our website. And what you can see here, and what's important to note, is the blue line. The blue line, which is a relatively flat line, represents those marketers who earn an A for their ability to demonstrate their value, prove their contribution and impact to the organization. That means they score 90 to 100 by the CEO, the CFO, and the COO of their organizations. And we found there's really absolutely no statistical difference based on geography, industry, B2B, B2C, any of that. About 1 in 4 marketers. Every now and then it blips up, and every now and then it blips down, but it's a very consistent number. This is an interesting group. This, what we call the yellow line here, these are the folks who get that 80 to 89 score, the Bs. And you see they took a nice little upward tick this year, causing the Cs to go down, which is excellent. You know, more people from the C ranks moved into the B ranks. We'll talk a lot about that persona. This is our group of Cs and our group of Ds. And back here, which is when we had, you know, the terrible downturn, there weren't very many Ds because those were being shed. But as you can see, it's been kind of climbing, and we can talk a little bit more about that if anyone's interested. So there are 3 primary personas associated with these grades. Those folks that are getting these A's, they really are the value creators. That's what they focus on. They see themselves as responsible for creating value in the organization. Those Bs, they're the middle of the pack, and they kind of are characterized as sales enablers. They really see themselves in service to the sales team. That's what they see as their primary customer, in fact, is the sales organization. So they're thinking very differently. They're very oriented around pipeline, waterfall, all of that stuff. And when we get there, we'll take a look at some of the things that they are doing. So A's are about contributing to the business outcomes. The B's in the middle of the pack are about improving and managing marketing performance. And then you have the C's and D's, and these are our laggards. And they're really characterized as campaign producers. Think of them as sort of check-the-box marketing. They're really good at creating and executing programs. They're good at tracking marketing activity and output, but they kind of are more, they see themselves and act more like an internal agency inside the organization. I'll leave it to you to think about which one you think your organization best reflects. So why should you care? I mean, what difference does it really make? Well, it does make a difference if you want the C-suite to be your champion, because the only group that has the CEO as their champion are the value creators. And the CFO is the most consistent critic of the other two. So when it comes to budget, in the conversation with the CFO, the sales enablers and campaign producers are always at the short end of the stick compared to their value creator counterparts. So if you want to be able to secure those additional resources, you've got to be among the ranks of the value creators to be able to get on the other side of that conversation. So these value creators also have a great deal more credibility within the organization. So it's not just about money, it's about credibility. And you know, there's a relationship. The more credible you are, the more budget you can get. So if you look at the credibility, marketing's credibility in the organization, you can see that among the CEO ranks and even among the CFO ranks and the business unit leaders and even sales, the value creators enjoy much more credibility than their counterparts. And if you look at the campaign producers, you know, they're really struggling down here quite a bit. The sales folks give the campaign producers and the sales enablers a little higher marks than some of the other members of the organization, because these are the folks who are helping the sales organization in the trenches, and that's important to them. But in the long run, it's about now as opposed to about the future. And so that's great that you're thinking about now as a marketer, but value creators aren't just thinking about now, they're also looking beyond today's horizon. So let's take a look at the top 10 things these value creators do, because there's something that these are things that every marketing organization, every CMO, every marketer can do. The first thing is they really know how to demonstrate business acumen. This is a really critical thing. So they don't think of themselves as just marketers. They think of themselves as members of the marketing, as members of the business team. And they demonstrate that they know the business. So once again, and you can see that the sales enablers are making some headway, right? They made some headway this last year in this area, kind of back to their 2014 rank area. The campaign producers aren't doing much movement, and you can see the value creators continue to hold fairly steady there. So really knowing the business. Then making the impact of marketing to the business is very clear. They know how to articulate what marketing is doing to move the needle for the business. And so once again, you can see significant differences between these groups. I just pulled the last 4 years, so you could kind of see again, the value creators making stronger surges than their counterparts in this area. So this really isn't about the fact that the other groups aren't measuring. In a moment, you're going to see that they are measuring. It's what and how they are communicating their contribution to the business. And that means that their measures are actually different. So when you think about the measures, the campaign producers and the sales enablers are struggling to figure out the right things to measure. Again, you can see kind of holding steady, but that the value creators still are consistently far better than their counterparts at knowing what metrics they need to have and use in order to demonstrate and communicate their contribution. And to do that well, it requires being really skilled at using data. And so what kind of data and how do they use it are very different. And this is where you begin to start seeing those huge gaps. So the marketing organization is really good at using data to make strategic decisions, improve effectiveness, make course adjustments, improve efficiencies among the value creators. Still opportunities for improvement. So if you look at where they are, there's still lots of opportunities for improvement, but considerably, further ahead again than their colleagues. And as a result of being good at using data, they're able to make that data far more relevant to the CEO, to the COO, and to the CFO. And so if you take a look at that again, and if you're looking at the business unit leaders and sales, you can once again see where those gaps are. So how do you do that? And this goes back to using the data and tying it to the business knowledge that they have. So they are able to make that linkage between data and strategic and business decisions and things that matter to the C-suite. So those are the first 5 things, right, that you can be thinking through. It's all really about understanding the business, understanding the right kinds of measures, having that business acumen, really good, strong metrics and data capabilities, and making that all relevant. So what comes after that? Well, to do all of that well is analytical muscle. So let's talk a moment about analytics. There was a study recently done by the CMO Council, and they said only 35% of marketing decisions are made from using marketing analytics. So that tells you something. If we don't have what we need in marketing to make the right kinds of decisions, then we obviously don't have, the organization doesn't have what they need for marketing to make the right kinds of decisions. And a Salesforce survey, also recently completed, said that 90% of high performers say that analytics is absolutely critical or very important to driving the company's overall business strategy and improving operational outcomes. So here you are. We're not doing a very good job of using it. High performers are using it. Well, how does that translate into our personas? Well, if you look at our personas and you look at their data and analytics mastery, again, you can see huge gaps. So again, analytics, improving marketing effectiveness with analytics, linking data back to business outcomes, selecting the right metrics for marketing's value, analyzing, reporting on data, big gaps between value creators and campaign producers. And you need to remember those campaign producers are a very large number of marketing organizations. So if you have good data, you know what metrics matter, you are strong at understanding the business, you have analytical muscle, then you can begin to excel at measuring your contribution to the business. And that's what the value creators, those best-in-class marketers, are able to do. Again, significantly better at measuring their contribution and achieving business goals. I'm going to finish the last couple up, and then I'm going to tell you how they do it. So They're very, very skilled. This is one of the things that really distinguishes the value creators from everyone else. It's not with today's technology, many marketers can click on a button in their marketing automation or sales automation platform, their CRM platforms or their Salesforce automation or their marketing automation platforms, and get a report and make a dashboard that's, in a way, what they think is a dashboard. They can visualize data. And so they can share that information. But if you don't put that in the context of a performance target, no one really knows whether what you're reporting on is good or bad, right? So we can arbitrarily make in marketing a decision that is green, but other people can arbitrarily decide that it's not green, that it's not great because there wasn't a performance target. This is something that the value creators are far better and excel at, is really doing a very good job of setting performance targets for nearly everything they do when it comes to their programs. And this is a critical capability of successful organization, is to be able to have performance targets and performance metrics at every cell in the organization. Now, how do they do it? They have 3 tools that they employ that most of their counterparts don't use. And you can see that here. Those 3 are data inventories, metrics catalogs, and what we call metrics or data chains. And so what you can see is that, once again, the value creators use those tools or have capabilities with those tools, have invested energy, resources, money into having those tools compared to their counterparts. And then lastly, because they have these last few things, they're able to create those actionable and meaningful dashboards. It's far more than just clicking on one of their technology components or several of their technology components and producing some kind of data, visualizing some kind of data, or even mixing and matching some of that data together. It's really having the right kind of a dashboard. And so you can see here, once again, that these value creators are doing a far better job. Now, the Bs, our sales enablers, have made some headway in their dashboards, but it's really the value creators that are doing much better, especially compared to campaign producers, and particularly around tracking performance of core marketing strategies, around communicating to the C-suite marketing's contribution to the business, and then all that allows them to secure those additional resources. So back to my earlier comment, the folks who do this well are able to get the budgets that they need in order to continue to do this well and bring value to the company. So these organizations are able to take all these skills, these 10 top skills, and use them to transform marketing into a center of excellence. Now, a lot of marketing organizations are claiming they're a center of excellence, but it's really not true. It's very few marketing organizations are centers of excellence. Even among the value creators, only a little over half of value creators themselves. Remember, that's like 1 in 4 marketing organizations. So that's like 2 marketing organizations in general are really, truly centers of excellence. So you may want to, take a look at what that really entails, and you can see the others are way behind in being able to operate as a center of excellence. We have a white paper on how to create marketing as a center of excellence. It's in the white papers, and you might find that to be helpful as you think about that. So this is, again, very critical. Why it matters? Let's take a look at the difference in the business results. So when it comes to being able to have impact on the business, like revenue growth, contribution to pipeline, win rate, share of wallet, customer retention, net new customers, increasing the inquiry rate, customer loyalty, generating net new ops, in every single one of those, value creators excel compared to their counterparts. Still rooms for improvement, right? These, are still room for improvement, but again, big gaps between them and their peers. Okay, so here's sort of the equation, and then we'll get into what they do. They have this acumen. They use what we call alignment and accountability. That's 2 of the A's. That's what gives them the credibility. They build their data and analytical muscle. That's what makes them relevant. And when they put those all together, that's what gives them influence over the organization and the ability to secure the resources they need. They use marketing operations in a different way. Their marketing operations is far more than just a marketing automation or MarTech team. It's really, again, tied back to making the organization, activating all of these capabilities and making the organization serve as a center of excellence. So it's about running marketing and doing marketing, not just it's the entire holistic view when they're these value creators. So it's far more than just the executional components, which the sales enablers and the campaign producers tend to focus on. So there's 6 things, just in bringing you to around: alignment, accountability, analytics, activation, alliances, and assessment are the 6 things that these A's hone in on. And you can find resources on every single one of these on our website. So alignment has to do with creating that direct line of sight between those marketing activities and investments and business results. Accountability has to do with selecting the right metrics and creating actionable dashboards. Analytics is all around the data and analytical capabilities, tools, and skills. Activation has to do with your marketing operations, the center of excellence. Alliances is how you relate and collaborate with key members across the organization. That includes sales, finance, IT, and lastly, these guys are relentless in their pursuit of continuous improvement. They're constantly assessing their organization, benchmarking their organization. So what can you do right now? I'm just going to let these come up here. First, how do you be a business person first? Really immerse yourself in the business, get clarity around what the business is really truly about and where the business is truly going, not so much about what's on my to-do list today. Develop and exercise business acumen. It's something you can learn. This is not something you're just, some marketers are born with and others are not. This is something that the value creators invest, again, in learning. They align before they act. So get the, is your marketing plan really aligned to business outcomes? We see hundreds of marketing plans every year, and most of them come in, PowerPoint or Excel or some other kind of common tool. They're usually not aligned in any way. They're typically just a list of things that marketing is going to do. There may be some objectives that don't have any performance targets, and then some list of activities or campaigns, and then some calendarized, things like events, campaigns, content, and some budget associated with them. So we have a great article on Nimble that you might want to check on that talks about how to really create a marketing plan that will serve you well. Select the metrics that matter, and then relentlessly, pursuing data quality. So these are all things that any marketer can do, and you have to be able to translate that data into action. So there's a lot of talk about data today, and the amount of data, and this is one of the things I'm going to be talking about in October around data and analytics. I mean, data is massive. The amount of data that is being produced that we can access today is mind-blowing. And when you think about that, the challenge of what to do with it, how to manage it, is daunting. And so we have an article coming out very soon on how to really approach analytics and data in a way that will help marketing organizations be more successful. And so you may want to stay tuned for that. And then lastly, and this is meant to be lastly, it's just a great way to wrap up this part of the conversation, focusing on the customer. It's so easy in marketing to have our noses to the grindstone, our shoulder to the boulder, but our job and our best way that we can be is to be focused on the customer. We're the only organization in the company with the word market in it. Therefore, we should know everything and anything there is to know about the customer, about the market. We should be bringing customer insights, managing customer experience through the buying process all the way through. That should all be something that, as marketers, we do well, and that's what value creators do. They do that very well. So as we are getting close here to the end, I wanted to open it up for questions and leave you with this thought. You write down, before we close out, one takeaway from today, because if you don't write it down, you won't remember to do anything about it. So take 1 second, write down one key takeaway from today, and one thing that you will do differently on Monday. So next week, one thing that you will do differently as a result of this conversation. I would love to hear from any of you. Feel free to stay in touch. I really appreciate you giving me your time today. I know we've covered a lot of ground in this very brief roundtable, and there's all kinds of ways we can stay in touch. Feel free to reach out. And I'd like, with that, open it up. I think I have like 3 minutes or something left for questions.
Julie, Patty, Deborah, did anything come up for you over the course of Laura's presentation?
This is Julie. I don't have any immediate questions, but I did take several notes, and I'm going to check out the white paper on Centers of Excellence and then the article on Nimble. But I really appreciate hearing all of this information again that I'm already familiar with, but it's something to just make sure that I'm constantly having the forefront as I continue to develop these skills.
Did you write one thing down, Julie?
I did. It was about looking up the white paper and the article on Nimble that I'm going to particularly do differently. No, I don't have something to contribute right here at this time.
Did anybody else write anything down? I'd be just curious. If you want to share.
Patty, you had mentioned that you had a paper coming out on how to approach data for the data analytics. When will that
yes,
be
it's going
issued?
to.
Is that later
Patty,
this fall?
do you get our newsletter? I can't remember if you get that. It will be in there when it comes out, where you can find it.
I don't think I'm in your newsletter, but I'll add. I assume it's on your website.
Yeah, I can't remember. I think that's going to be in Marketing Profs next month.
Okay, great.
And if you're not a member of Marketing Profs, don't worry. We always can have those articles on our website, so you can find it there when it comes out too.
Okay.
Anybody else have a question? Or I know we covered a lot of ground, and I know that we're pushing here at the end of our time. Actually, a little over our time. Sorry about that.
Laura, I'd be curious. This is Blair Shiver with Boardroom Events. At the conclusion of your presentation, you said that marketing should know more than anyone in the business about the customer. Do you have any tips for when businesses are managing multiple customer personas? How to best target those personas with your marketing collateral?
So that's a great question, and we do have some articles on creating personas and matching those personas to the customer journey. If anyone's interested, you can find those. And I think both of those also ran on Nimble, if you can't find them on our site. So a lot of people often confuse profiles and personas, and it is important to think in terms of personas. Personas can cross profiles, by the way. And so having understanding a persona and how they go through their journey, and whatever stage of the journey you're going to want to try to match or sync channels and content with. So that, as you think about the customer journey, there's the journey of the first stage, becoming a customer, but there's the journey that goes on beyond that once they are a customer and the experience they have as being a customer, and all the additional touches and content that happens along the way in that part of the journey. So it is important to think about the customer journey and the personas, and to set those personas against those stages and connect the content and channels to that stage and that persona. And so that takes some data work, obviously. It takes some research also. Oftentimes you can get some of that from your data, but often you have to actually talk to customers, and we do recommend there's ways to do that, whether that's through a customer advisory board. If you don't have a customer advisory board, there's, again, articles out there that we've written or on our website on how to create cabs, other forms of research that you can do to do that work, and then how to validate those personas and those journeys, so that you can then create the right kind of content and put it in the right channels.
Great.
Did I answer your question, Blair?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very well, Laura. Thank you so much. We are out of time for today. So as previously mentioned, there will be a distribution of this recording, and the slides will be available for download at the conclusion of the call. Laura and Julie, Patty, Deborah, thank you so much for your time today. We look forward to continuing the conversation.
Thank you all. You all have a great rest of the day.
Bye, everybody.